stay for the rest of my life.
Climate crackdown.
Do you have a search warrant?
Is Australia's right to protest under fire?
If we don't do something, then we are criminals.
The prospect of going to jail for 20 years is frightening.
What happened has left me shaken, fearful and distressed.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And that was a promo for the dramatic Four Corners story you may just have watched about climate action protesters in WA and the long arm of the law in that state. And even before it went to air, The Australian, The West Australian and Sky News were all getting stuck in.
Four Corners to use footage shot outside Woodside's CEO's home, despite outrage over the incident.
The ABCs of stupidity as stunt fiasco goes to air.
I think it's pretty questionable by the ABC that they're doing this.
No doubt there's more of that to come. But there was another drama the programme did not tell you about playing out behind the scenes, in which WA police were putting the screws on the ABC. Back in August, as you no doubt know, WA police from the Counter-Terror Squad arrested 3 Disrupt Burrup Hub activists outside the home of oil and gas company Woodside's CEO Meg O'Neill. And 4 people were subsequently charged with conspiracy to commit an indictable offence of criminal damage, allegedly by daubing paint on her house and or chaining themselves to her fence. Since then, WA police have sent the ABC an order to produce, demanding Four Corners hand over all video and audio recordings made during production of the programme. That order is akin to a search warrant, so the ABC would break the law if it refused to comply. So, would handing over the footage be a problem? It certainly would. Four Corners filmed interviews with activists who knew they would be on TV, and the protest at O'Neill's home where the same is true. But they also filmed a rehearsal of that protest the night before and a training session with 30 activists. And the ABC gave undertakings to 4 people being filmed that their identity would be kept secret. As Jessie Noakes, media spokesperson for Disrupt Burrup Hub, told Media Watch on Friday,
if the ABC provide all of their footage, not just that which will air on Monday night, but everything they've captured to WA police, those guarantees go out the window completely. So it will basically involve a profound and very basic breach of the trust that people have placed in the ABC in participating in this program, and also, involve some pretty fundamental journalistic ethics, which demand that the ABC protect its sources.
What's more, said Noakes, giving WA police the raw footage could lead to more people being charged.
I think there is every prospect and possibility of that. I think that police would not be pursuing this in the fairly unprecedented manner they are if they were not seeking to lay further charges, potentially.
As you can imagine, there was some angst at the ABC about what to do, with lawyers keen to comply with the law, Four Corners adamant it must protect its sources, and the Journalists' Union demanding the ABC hand over nothing. But as the deadline passed, the ABC held firm, with MD David Anderson telling Media Watch,
the Four Corners journalists tell me there are several cases where undertakings were given not to reveal identity. Obviously, we won't be handing that stuff over. We would never produce something where protection of sources is involved. We don't reveal our sources. We've never done that.
So, what happens next? Well, the ABC has not handed over any footage so far and will not hand over any where undertakings are involved. So, the next step could be the WA police to get a search warrant and turn up on the doorstep. That would provide some theatre. Meanwhile, under the WA Criminal Investigation Act, the ABC could face a $12,000 fine for failing to comply with the order to produce. It's not clear if the ABC could offer any defence, but we could see a court battle and political blowback. WA Police told us in a statement there is nothing to see here, and they routinely use orders to produce in investigating a crime. But legal experts we've spoken to disagree. Dr. Piero Marraro, a lecturer in criminology at WA's Edith Cowan University, believes it's unprecedented for the media to be forced to hand over footage of protesters. And he told us,
this is in line with the ongoing attack on the right to protest in Australia, involving disproportionate punishments, overnight, repeated police raids to activists' homes, overly stringent bail conditions, and incessant scare campaigns on the media.
Marraro points out it could make the media less likely to cover such protests in the future. Meanwhile, Dr. Michael Douglas from the University of WA Law School is scathing about the police action.
The real villains here are not the police, but Woodside and its thin-skinned CEO Meg O'Neill. She leads a massive fossil fuel company that is contributing to the destruction of our climate and is upset that hippies want to give her a hard time? Please.
And he adds,
The cops should not be carrying on like the private security for Perth's fossil fuel oligarchs. They should be serving the public interest, and that interest is better served by letting the ABC conduct public interest journalism, relatively unimpeded.
That is quite a response. But this is clearly a saga that has made some people very angry. And my guess is it's not over yet. But now to Nine's renovation show, The Block. And
Kitchen week, I love it. It's my favourite week, and you should see some of the bench tops.
They're all new, I heard.
Yeah, Cosentino, it's fantastic.
Yeah, the blockheads just love Cosentino bench tops, and every contestant is installing them in their kitchen and laundry.
If you've got to chop off a finger, do that, as long as you don't damage our beautiful Cosentino stone.
With all the bench tops supplied, of course, in a glossy commercial deal, and everyone agreeing they look fantastic.
And I'm feeling good.
Oh, so beautiful.
But the Block was also keen to tell us...
And most importantly, it's safe to install.
And they told us that because there's been a lot of news about how unsafe it can be for tradies to work on engineered stone bench tops, which at least some of those on the block are, and which all contain crystalline silica. With Adele Ferguson at 960 Minutes going hard on the dangers earlier this year.
Tonight, a scandal that should not be happening. How our love of shiny kitchen and bathroom bench tops is driving a silicosis epidemic.
No one ever said straight out, this stuff is going to kill you.
And in February, the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age were busy running the same theme, which was also picked up by other media, like The Project, with Steve Price asking...
Is this the new asbestos?
We actually think it's probably worse than the new asbestos.
And why is that? Because exposure to silica dust released in cutting, grinding and shaping reconstituted or engineered stone can lead to silicosis, an incurable and insidious lung disease, as well as kidney disease and lung cancer. And it's why there's growing pressure to ban engineered stone altogether, not least from the union that represents construction workers with its campaign to stop this killer stone.
Instead of planning a family, we're planning my funeral. I used to cut kitchen bench tops.
But there's been pressure from others too, in submissions to a Safe Work Australia investigation, which is just reported to the government, notably from the Royal Australasian College of Physicians and others who have recommended much tougher controls or a complete ban. So it's no wonder the Block were keen to emphasise that their stone is safe, with a Cosentino rep telling the programme...
So this is actually made using all low silica technology. We're the only manufacturer that has a low silica reconstituted stone.
And does that make it safe for tradies to install?
That's right, it's got minimal silica, like natural, that naturally occurs in beach sand or something like that, so it's very safe.
So, is that right? Well, no, or not according to the ACTU, who told us...
Even low silica engineered stone represents unmanageable risks during fabrication, and thus should be prohibited.
Those risks also applying to tradies who cut it, with the union body adding...
TV programs such as The Block should be warning consumers that the product they are purchasing has come at the expense of workers' lives.
Certified occupational hygienist Kate Cole, who co-chairs a committee advising the government on silicosis, agrees, telling us that no engineered stone containing crystalline silica is safe and...
Comparing engineered stone to beach sand in a way to suggest that it is safe is not accurate.
So, why is the Block promoting a product that the unions and many health experts say is unsafe and want to see more tightly regulated or banned? We asked Nine that question, and we're surprised to be told...
Engineered stone was not used at all.
Oh, really? And they went on to say...
All kitchens use natural stone. Some laundries used a product which WorkSafe does not consider to be engineered stone due to its low silica content.
How very odd. And for starters, the natural stone claim is not correct. But we got a similar reply from Cosentino, which told us...
No engineered stone has been supplied in the Block TV show.
Now that is strange, but in my view, also misleading. Cosentino and the Block are basing their response on Victorian regulations that only define stone as engineered if it contains more than 40% silica. And the bench tops in the Block have a maximum of 34%. But Safe Work Australia, the government body responsible for workers' health and safety, tells me to watch the bench tops are engineered stone on their definition, which applies across the rest of Australia. And the ACTU says...
There is no credible evidence of a safe threshold level of exposure.
What's more, WorkSafe Victoria, whom Cosentino and Nine rely on to claim their product is fine, told us
the Victorian government is on record as supporting national moves to ban engineered stone to further protect workers from silicosis.
Confusing, isn't it? But the bottom line is, health experts and the unions reckon there is a problem. And you can read full statements on our website. And finally, to someone who's no stranger to Media Watch, United Australia Party leader Craig Kelly is a famous COVID vaccine sceptic and champion of dodgy COVID cures, who's been banned from Facebook, Instagram and Twitter for spreading misinformation.
The idea that I've somehow been posting misinformation is absolutely misinformation itself.
But he's now hitting back by suing two Queensland academics who have accused him of something more serious, which is spreading information he knew to be false. Kelly tweeting this last month to his 109,000 followers.
Defamation proceedings have commenced. I am not going to put up with such individuals making false and defamatory assertions, allegedly that I have intentionally spread disinformation, when they don't have a clue what they are talking about.
The two academics in Kelly's sights are Tim Graham and Catherine Fitzgerald from Queensland University of Technology, who have analysed more than 4,300 of Kelly's tweets from 2021 that have been viewed more than 316 million times. Their paper claims that these were spread enthusiastically by coordinated communities of anti-vaxxers, conspiracy theorists and far-right activists, whose tweets Kelly also retweeted. And from that they conclude that Kelly was clearly engaged in a disinformation campaign. Kelly is now demanding they apologise and withdraw the paper. And he's told Media Watch,
I've had a gutful of this rubbish and I'm drawing a line in the sand.
So, is he really serious about suing? And how would he go if he did? In April 2021, Kelly was permanently banned from Facebook and Instagram for allegedly spreading misinformation about COVID-19. And in July 2021, he was thrown off Twitter, now rebranded as X, for a week, after Media Watch ripped into his ridiculous claim that a COVID jab made you more likely to die from the disease.
In the UK, those that haven't been vaccinated actually have a lower case fatality rate than those that have. And not just by a little bit, by a factor of 7 or 8.
In the uproar that followed, Sky took down that interview and got Alan Jones, who had egged Kelly on, to apologise on air.
Sky News Australia would like to correct the statements in the broadcast, which has been removed from all platforms.
But those are just two in a long list of crazy Kelly claims, including this widely shared Facebook post about the Jan 6 US Capitol riots.
Neo-fascists and Marxists engaged in a highly coordinated false flag operation by infiltrating the protest and invading the parliament so the world's media would falsely blame and discredit Trump supporters.
With claims like those stacked up against him, it would be a brave call for Kelly to sue. But the threat of legal action no doubt plays well with his supporters. Meanwhile, the two QUT academics are making no comment on legal advice. But they're not the only ones under the gun, because in the USA, fact-checkers and disinformation academics are also facing concerted legal and political pressure. Back in September 2020, in the run-up to the US elections, Project Veritas published a, quote, bombshell investigation into voter fraud, which was heralded with great fanfare and excitement by Trump supporters, like Pillowman Mike Lindell.
I'm talking undeniably proof of voter fraud. This is an outrage and it has to stop.
The Veritas video was a huge hit on YouTube, rapidly clocking up 1 million views.
James O'Keefe here in downtown Minneapolis at the scene of the crime.
But it was quickly dismissed by the New York Times, quoting Professor Alex Stamos from the Stanford Internet Observatory, who called it a coordinated disinformation campaign. Soon after, Project Veritas' key source claimed he had been offered a bribe to lie. Project Veritas responded by suing Stamos and Stanford for defamation. And while that case was thrown out of court with costs, the Stanford researchers are now facing another lawsuit from a COVID vaccine skeptics group, alleging they
colluded with the federal government and social media companies to censor Americans' speech.
And they're also being targeted by the powerful House Judiciary Committee, controlled by the Republicans and led by Trump stalwart Jim Jordan, which is demanding they hand over thousands of emails and documents, plus details of meetings with the government and social media companies. Also being pursued by this committee, and a co-defendant in the COVID legal action, is Kate Starbird of the Washington Centre for an Informed Public, who told the Washington Post,
"The political part is intimidating. To have people with a lot of power in this world making false claims about our work."
But she then added in a follow-up email to Media Watch,
researchers and their institutions won't be deterred by conspiracy theorists and those seeking to smear and silence this line of research for political reasons.
So, could the same sort of pressure be applied in Australia? Answer, possibly. As well as threatening the researchers at QUT, Craig Kelly has recently taken aim at RMIT Fact Lab as extreme leftist political activists. That was a response to Sky News suing RMIT Fact Lab after Facebook relied on it to brand Peter Credlin's claims about the Uluru Statement from the Heart as false, with Sky
demanding the retraction of false fact-checking verdicts on the TV channel's online content and reimbursement for lost revenue.
None of these actions yet amounts to a war, but it may develop into one. And the more time the fact-checkers are forced to spend fighting such actions, the less time, money and appetite they may have to do their job and battle the tide of falsehoods. That's all from us for tonight. You can read statements from Craig Kelly, Nine, Cosentino and others on Engineered Stone, plus statements from WA Police and our legal experts on that order to produce. Don't forget, Media Bites on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. But for now, until next week, goodbye.